The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, held at the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria, is expected to turn its attention to other evidence, with former Hawks head Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebeya expected to take the stand. Now, this follows the testimony of businessman and attempted murder-accused Vusimuzi Matlala, who wrapped up his latest appearance before the inquiry yesterday. Now, Matlala, who remains under subpoena, is expected to return to the commission at a date to be announced. SABC News anchor AyandaNyathi, alongside senior reporter Canny, Maphanga, are both in Pretoria for us and join us with the very latest. A very good morning to you, Ayanda. So it's the turn of former Hawks head Godfrey Lebeya to assist the commission today. No doubt that disastrous takedown of Godfrey Lebeya will be canvassed with him, because we had spoken to him exclusively on the SABC, where he revealed to us that he had deployed the Hawks members to Godfrey's house when the PKTT had been there to conduct an operation, and there was some sort of a standoff between the two. And he went on to say there was an informer who had called him, but at the time had been quite reluctant to tell us who had informed him that the PKTT were at Godfrey Lebeya's house.
Exactly, and the question I imagine that's going to be posed to him is to hopefully go deeper into who that informer actually is and why he relied on that information when he made the call for the Hawks to descend on Godfrey Lebeya's home. But welcome back to the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College in Mfundo. As you've mentioned, we are turning the page here at the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College with 3 days of sometimes painstaking testimony from Vusimuzi Matlala now behind us, and we anticipate that former Hawks head Godfrey Lebeya will get a chance to answer some questions surrounding that takedown. Canny Maphanga is our senior reporter watching developments for us here, and she joins us now live. And Canny, we've heard about this takedown before, but a voice that's glaringly missing from the information we've received is that of the man sitting right behind you.
Yes, absolutely. We have now turned to the other alleged cartel member, Godfrey Lebeya, and what possible shields he could have enjoyed. Earlier, we thought it could have possibly been about the JMPD officer that allegedly did those vehicle checks for him outside his house, off duty, allegedly. But seemingly, we're turning back to the December operation of the GCI ops, and supported with the PKTT, and that when they descended on the property of Godfrey Lebeya and Santon, what then took place is something that delves into the realm of alleged interference, and alleged interference with an ulterior purpose, or alleged ulterior purpose. That's exactly what the Hawks are accused of in this particular regard. We've heard of the Hawks in numerous pieces of evidence before the Madlanga Commission, but here it's really about where the instruction came from and why. And it is alleged that the instruction came from the very top, from General Godfrey Lebeya in his capacity as the then Hawks boss, and there was some award ceremony taking place. And what then would follow is that a huge contingent of Hawks officers would descend on the property of Godfrey Lebeya, and that was seen as something that was trying to allegedly sabotage the work of the GCI ops as well as the PKTT in terms of alleged cartel member Godfrey Lebeya, because at that time they were doing that raid, and what would also lead to the arrest of Godfrey Lebeya. Now the answer, or rather the questions, are about the manner in which things are done that are quite disturbing. Remember, the Hawks is a unit that is designed to fight a bit more complex issues. You wouldn't expect the Hawks at a raid. And what we understand is that the initial defense was that the Hawks were being impersonated at the residence of Godfrey Lebeya. That still raises more questions, because as soon as the first 2 vehicles came through, they would have learned that these were legitimate cops and that this was a legitimate operation, or SAP's operation, let's put it that way. But they still stayed for a number of minutes or even hours there at the residence. And not only that, they added more units, even turned back a unit that was heading towards the northwest for an operation that actually meets Hawks' mandate, and they turned him back to go to this house for just a mere raid. And it's raising questions as to whether or not there was an ulterior purpose here, whether or not Godfrey Lebeya was allegedly enjoying a shield. Was this geared towards allegedly interfering with the raid and the arrest of Godfrey Lebeya? And what then was General Godfrey Lebeya, if any, his role in all of these actions? Because if you look at the evidence from all the Hawks officers that were called here to answer to this, these are until the subordinates and some of the managers. None of them had plausible explanations as to why they were there and why they were there so long, even after they learnt that these were legitimate cops. So now it's left to the former Hawks boss, General Lebeya, to explain how he got the call, who gave him the information, and why he took it so serious that he deployed such a large contingent to the home of Katiso Katie Molefe, and why he didn't order them to leave the premises once the information was known that these were legitimate cops conducting a legitimate operation.
I think it's always important for us to try to draw it back to those initial allegations which gave birth to this commission made by Matlala Mkhwanazi, this idea that at each turn the PKTT's work was being frustrated. I imagine they point to this raid as a case in point.
Yes, and in terms of the work of the PKTT in this regard, it was actually the GCI ops that were working or advancing on these alleged cartel members. But because of the presence of the political killings task team, who were really a support to that structure, because Kumalo already explained that because of the way in which things worked in Gauteng and how allegedly high-ranking generals are allegedly compromised in Gauteng, he couldn't trust those particular units. So he had to turn to the PKTT for assistance. Now, that was mistook for the PKTT working on this operation, when really it was not the PKTT, it was the GCI ops. They were just supporting, which is also lends to the narrative that they incorrectly disbanded the PKTT, thinking that it was them that was pouncing, but it was really the GCI ops. So it's going to be quite an interesting day as we hear from Lebeya as to what his alleged role was in that entire ordeal.
Canny Maphanga, thanks very much indeed. As always, there's that announcement from Jeremy Michaels, of course, as we anticipate the start of the testimony of former Hawks head Godfrey Lebeya. It'll be interesting to hear what his defense is, if in fact there is any, given the fact that so many fingers are pointing to him surrounding what went wrong with that raid. Let's listen in.